Welcome to our winery discovery journey. And this time we are going to take you through a short but very enjoyable journey through Italy, Italian wines. It is a bit, we're recording this video in early 2026, so we don't have the official reports yet. But all the forecasts indicate that Italy was the largest wine producing country in the world in 2025 by volume, followed by France, Spain, and the US. We all love Italian wines here in the UK. We've all tried a lot of Italian wines here, and I'm very excited to take you through this journey. The wine scene in Italy is super exciting and varied, with so many different styles of wine, going from sparkling to sweet, through light wines, mineral wines, big, bold, tannic, oak-aged wines. So I'm very, very excited to take you through this journey. So, of course, to start our wine journey in Italy and to start any party, there's nothing better than a sparkling wine. The first wine on the case that you're trying today is a Prosecco. Prosecco is a very popular style in the UK. Again, we are recording this in early 2026, so we don't yet have the reports for 2025. But in 2024, in the UK, we consumed 121 million liters of Prosecco alone. We love this style of wine. Prosecco comes from the Veneto, broader Veneto region in northeastern Italy. Normally, in 99% of the cases, it is made from a grape called Glera. Why did I choose this Prosecco particularly for you to try? This Prosecco comes from a small, very small hilly area in Veneto called Asolo. If Prosecco had a Premier Cru classification, Asolo would be a Premier Cru of Prosecco. Because the area is so hilly and the soils are so poor, the vines produce a much smaller crop of grapes, with smaller grapes that are rich in flavor in this area. So these are very aromatic, flavorsome Proseccos, as you are about to try. Another thing that's slightly different from this Prosecco is you have noticed on the bottle that it says over 100. Ghisolana, the winery, owns a very small parcel of vines in Asolo, and these vines, the vineyard, is on average over 100 years old. So very old, gnarly vines. They produces even less grapes, but with even more concentrated flavor. So as you are trying the Prosecco now, you find a very refreshing note of orange zest, lovely notes of white flower like hawthorn, pear, apple, pear drop, and the bubbles are very smooth and mousse-like. They literally caress your palate. And another thing that you've noticed is different from the other Proseccos. This is not a super sweet style of Prosecco. There are styles of Prosecco out there that are laden with sugar. They're heavy in sweetness. This Prosecco isn't. It's quite dry, elegant, and very food friendly. I hope you enjoy it. In the next step of our wine discovery journey through Italy, I'm going to take you all the way from the northeastern part of Italy to the south, into Sicily, to the very southern part of Sicily, to a region called Agrigento. Agrigento is famous for its wines, but also for all the Roman ruins that can be found in the area. It is a very pretty, hilly part of Sicily, and because of the natural beauty, the Romans built here holiday colonies with baths and temples, and all of those ruins are still there on top of the hills that encircle the Agrigento region. The producer, Vini Consiglio, now in 2026, they'll be celebrating 125 years of the same family being in the same area, looking after the same vineyards. And one thing that I found quite refreshing about Vini Consiglio is that they started working with organic viticulture way before organic food and organic drink were in vogue. They first got their organic certification in 1987, and they have been organic ever since. Mimo, the winemaker, he focuses on native grape varieties of Sicily, of the area, and I picked out for you wine made from Inzolia. Inzolia is a native grape from Sicily. It normally produces wines that have a medium body, lovely notes of stone fruit, such as peach and apricots, a lovely zestiness to it, like lemon peel. But this particular wine, as you taste, you see, it also has an underlying mineral note, almost a saline note, iodine, sea breeze. That's because the vineyards face the ocean. They're close to the ocean, and they absorb all the iodine that's in the air, being blown by the wind from the ocean over the land. That, of course, sits on top of the grapes and end up in the tank and creates this lovely saline iodine note in this wine. I hope you enjoy it. In the third stop of our wine discovery journey, I would like to take you now from Sicily back to the northern part of Italy, to the northwestern part of Italy, in an area called Piedmont. Piedmont means foot of the mountains. This is because the whole region is encircled in almost its entirety by mountains. To the north, the Alps, and then to the south, the Apennines. It creates a sun trap in there because the mountains protect the region from cold fronts coming from the sea or from continental Europe, and creates an area that's quite clear, plenty of sunshine, and plenty of warmth. This is a white wine that you're trying, and I chose it particularly because in this area in Piedmont, the red wines get all the attention. Think your Barolos, Barbarescos, Dolcettos. They get a lot of attention, but the whites not so much, and that's why I chose a white wine from this region. The producer, Poderi Ruggeri Corsini. Poderi means farm. Ruggeri is the surname of the family. Corsini is the name of the village close to which the vineyards are located. They started over 30 years ago. Nicola and his wife, they were university professors, and they decided that they wanted to change their careers. They didn't want to keep on teaching, so they moved to this area, bought a little vineyard, and then went on to learn on how to grow grapes and how to make wines. Now his two daughters are taking over the vineyard because it's time for Nicola, his wife, to retire. This particular wine that you're trying is made from a blend of 3 different grape varieties. In here you've got Chardonnay, Anise, and Sauvignon Blanc. It is one of the most popular Italian white wines in humble grape. I almost can't get on top of keep ordering this wine because it moves quite quickly. Our customers, our teams love it, and you understand now why. As soon as you try the wine, it has lovely notes of lime zest. It's very refreshing. You get notes of tropical fruit there, a little bit of green banana, a little bit of mango. Because the wine is aged on lees, it has a lovely texture, and it's extremely refreshing. So I hope you enjoy it. We are continuing our whistle-stop journey through Italy. We are now leaving Piedmont in the northwest, and we are going back to southern Italy again. We are going to Puglia, the hill of the boot. It's a small wine region. It's not it's not as large as Piedmont where we were before. Again, very hilly, very porous, rocky soils here in most of the vineyards that will produce smaller crops of grapes on the vines with smaller grapes and richer flavors, which you'll be able to try in this wine. Puglia is very famous for its big, rich, bold, fruit-forward red wines, and that's why I chose this wine. This wine is a Primitivo di Manduria. Manduria is a small part of Puglia, and as the name says, is made from the grape called Primitivo. The producer is Schiena. Giuseppe Schiena planted this vineyard and built this winery in 1990. He grew up in a family of winemakers and then decided to go on his own and start his own project, and Schiena is his own project. As it is true with all of the wines we have in our portfolio, we work with producers that avoid the heavy use of chemicals in the vineyard, and this is true to Schiena as well. No pesticides, no herbicides. All the work done in the vineyard is done manually, harvesting the grapes, pruning the vines. That gives the winemaker a much better control over what's happening with the crop throughout the season. And at the moment of the harvest, by harvesting by hand, the winemaker can choose which bunches of grapes to harvest. So only the best grapes make the cut to go into the wine. Primitivo is a famous grape variety in its American name, Zinfandel. We've all tried Zinfandel, exactly the same grape. And the reason why I like Primitivo di Manduria is that it can oftentimes be cheaper than American Zinfandel, and it still deliver that style of red wine that's foot forward, full-bodied, with lovely velvet tannins and quite a bit of alcohol. This particular wine was aged in American oak for 6 months in American barrels. Why is it important to know that? Because you will be able to smell that in the wine. As you go in to try this wine, you will see that the wine is rich in black fruits, blueberries, blackberries, dark cherries, black currants. It also has, as you can see, it's a full-bodied wine with very velvet tannins. There is quite a lot of tannins here, but they are very velvet and smooth. And you will also pick up a very subtle note of coconut and vanilla. Those aromas and flavors are coming from the wine being aged in American oak. As it is true with Primitivo and Zinfandel wines, this wine is quite high in alcohol. We're looking at 14% here. So it is about time to start the party. And I hope you enjoy this wine. Right. Our whistle-stop journey through Italy is coming close to an end. We are now on wine number 5. Because we've just come from Puglia and tried a lovely, a very rich Primitivo di Manduria, I would like now to move us on to something a little lighter, more refreshing, just to refresh our palate before we dive into the last wine of the selection, which is also big and rich wine. We are back in northwestern Italy, in Piedmont, where the lovely Langhe Bianco that we tried before came from. Same producer, Poderi Ruggeri Cossini, but now we are focusing on Barbera. Barbera is a famous black grape variety in this area, in Piedmont. Very famous because it produces wines that are lighter than the big Barolos and other red wines from the area, refreshing, with not a lot of tannins, and very food friendly. At this point of the journey, if you're feeling a little bit hungry, now it's time to get the snacks out, because this wine will pair really well with food. Barbera produces wines, and you will see now as you taste the wine, wines with lovely notes of cherries, dark cherries, maraschino cherries, cocktail cherries, lots of cherries. Fine but yet a little firm tannins. That's why it pairs well with food, and a very vibrant acidity. You feel on your palate as you try this wine. Your mouth will salivate. You feel the acidity on the sides of your tongue. That acidity is quite uplifting. You feel that the wine is supple and very refreshing. So I hope you enjoy it. So now sit up straight, because we arrived at the last wine of the journey. And I saved this wine for last for a reason. We are now moving from northwestern Italy to northeast eastern Italy, where the Prosecco came from, into the Veneto wider region, into a small area called Valpolicella. We all know Valpolicella really well in this country. It pops up in wine menus in restaurants and in pubs and bars because Valpolicella is the Beaujolais of Italy. Light, refreshing wines that don't really need food to be paired with. But that's not the style that we're trying now. We are in a smaller sub-region of Valpolicella called Valpantena. Valpantena is nestled up on the foothills of the mountains, at tail end of the Alps that come south. The soils here are very poor, and as I said before, that's important because it will create crops that are small and flavorsome. Tezza, the family who made this wine. The winery has been there since 1960, and since the late 80s, the Tezza family has focused on producing wines organically without artificial chemicals being used in the process in the vineyard or in the winery. This wine also is low in sulfites. For those of you who are allergic to sulfites, this is or have sensitivity to sulfites, this is a good wine because it has lower levels of sulfite. The three grape varieties used here are native of Valpolicella, which are Corvina, Corvinone, and Rondinella. Amarones are made in a slightly different way of most the other styles of red wine. Amarones are made through a passamento. A passamento is a very old Roman way of making wine, by which the producer will harvest the grapes, put them on straw mat, and then let them dry for just about 3 months. The drying process will reduce the volume of juice in the grapes by almost half. The grapes almost turn into raisins. The skins shrink, and all of that concentrates the flavors, the acidity, the tannins, concentrates everything inside of the grapes. That is one of the reasons why Amarones are more expensive, because you're only able to make less wine from the same size of the crop because of the dried your grapes. Once this wine was made, the Tezza family aged this wine in barrels for 40 months. That's because all of those concentrated tannins, they need to relax. They need to come in contact with the wood and the oxygen in order to soften out. Such a long aging period also adds to the price of the wine, because the wine's been sitting there for well over 3 years in the barrels, aging. As you are starting to taste this wine, you see that this wine is deeply colored, has lovely notes of black fruit preserve, as well as aromas of raisins, dates, figs, dried figs. All of those dried fruit aromas come from the grapes being dried out in the sun. You can also smell vanilla, cedar, smoke. This particular wine has a lovely note of dark chocolate and sweet tobacco. It's a very complex wine. Again, quite alcoholic. We're talking about almost 15% alcohol here, depending on the vintage. You will notice that this wine has an incredibly long finish, which is a sign of the quality of the grapes at the start of the process, as well as quality winemaking, because Tezza focuses very deeply on detail during winemaking. I hope you enjoyed this journey, and I hope you enjoyed this absolutely fantastic Amarone.